This week, Germany's feathers were ruffled when President Donald Trump confirmed he was pulling American troops from Germany. In an impromptu press conference with a helicopter running in the background, Trump was asked this question. Mr. President, on NATO, you just gave the order to remove U.S. troops from Germany. How does that keep Russia in check? This was his response. Well, Germany is delinquent. They haven't paid their fees, they haven't paid their NATO fees, and they're way off, and they've been off for years, and they have no intention of paying it. And the United States has been taken advantage of on trade and on military, on everything else for many years. And I'm here, and I've been straightening it out. But Germany owes billions and billions of dollars to NATO, and why would we keep all of those troops there? And now Germany is saying it's bad for their economy. Well, it's good for our economy. Germany is delinquent. They're at 1%. They should be at 2%. And actually, everybody should be at 4%, not 2%, because 2% is too low. But they're at 1%, and they've taken advantage of us for many years. And you think that's bad? They take advantage on trade, and I was all set to fix that, and then we got hit with the China plague. But we'll be fixing it. Now, the interviewer went back to the issue of Germany later in the interview and asked, back to Germany, are those troops, what signal does it send to Russia? Those troops are always there to defend Europe against Russia. Now, this was Trump's response. They're there to protect Europe. They're there to protect Germany, right? And Germany is supposed to pay for it. Germany is not paying it. So why should we leave them there if they're not? We don't want to be the suckers anymore. The United States has been taken advantage of for 25 years, both on trade and on the military. We are protecting Germany, so we're reducing the force because they're not paying their bill. It's simple. They're delinquent. Very simple. And there are other NATO countries also. End quote. Now, the response from Germany has been quick. The Business Insider reported, a key ally of Angela Merkel has attacked Donald Trump's decision to remove nearly 12,000 troops from Germany, saying that it will reduce the U.S.'s military clout and weaken NATO in its effort to contain Russia. End quote. Well, senior German politician Norbert Röttgen, who is standing to succeed his ally Angela Merkel as Chancellor, who now chairs the German Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, tweeted the following. In withdrawing 12,000 soldiers from Germany, the U.S. achieved the exact opposite from what Esper outlined. Instead of strengthening NATO, it is going to weaken the alliance. The U.S. military clout will not increase but decrease in relation to Russia and the Near and Middle East. End quote. Well, Dov Zakheim, former U.S. Undersecretary of Defense from 2001 to 2004, had the following to say. The redeployment is likely to be only the first step in a multi-stage effort to pull all troops out of Europe. That would clear the way for Putin's next aggressive adventure, a nightmarish prospect that should terrify not only the Europeans, but all Americans who care about the nation's security, both in the immediate future and for the longer term. Rick Stempel, Time magazine editor, stated the following about troop removal.
U.S. officials, Russia is behind the spread of virus disinformation.
Yes, I'll take the second point first. I mean, the Russian disinformation efforts don't have an off switch. It's a distributed network. You know, they know what Putin wants, and you have the Internet Research Agency in St. Petersburg doing this. You have the GRU doing it from Moscow. There are these new sites that they've created, and what they've learned since 2016 is they don't have to create the disinformation themselves. There's plenty of disinformation out there. They need to amplify it, and that's what they're doing with thousands and thousands of bots. But I am so glad, Nicole, you brought up the point about Defense Department announcing the withdrawal of 12,000 Russian troops, 12,000 American troops from Germany. This is Vladimir Putin's dream. This is his dream since he was a KGB officer in Dresden and watched the Berlin Wall fall. For the Russians, the special relationship in diplomacy is not between the U.S. and the U.K. The relationship is between America and Germany. And Russians for 75 years have been trying to place as much distance between America and Germany as possible. And the only president that has ever done this, the only president that has listened to Vladimir Putin about this is Donald Trump. And this is not just a symbol to Russia. This is a symbol to everybody in the whole world that our alliances, our most sacred alliances, are now not even worth the paper they're written on. This is a tremendous victory for Vladimir Putin.
Well, media around the world are discussing this move as signaling the collapse of NATO. This gives credence to what French President Macron had to say about NATO in November of last year, when he described it as being brain dead. According to the publication This Week, NATO is the world's most powerful defense alliance, with member states like France, the US, Britain, Germany, and Turkey set up in 1949 to counter communist expansion under the Soviet Union. It originally had 12 members, but now has 30. Article 5 of NATO states that an attack against one of the member states will be deemed as an attack against all of the others, and the alliance works on the principle of complete consensus between its members. End quote. Well, this decline of NATO and America's withdrawal of troops from Germany is giving life to the prospect of a European army. The Defense News carried this headline: Germany sets up European defense agenda with a waning U.S. footprint in mind. The article continued, the European Union should prepare for the possibility of a gradual disengagement by the United States from the continent. So Germany took over the EU presidency on July 1st. The publication Modern Diplomacy ran an article with the headline, Germany Wants Europe Strong Again. The article stated, Germany's presidency in the European Union, which began on July 1st, may stimulate the EU into re-evaluating its role in world affairs and could encourage it to streamline relations with Russia. The key factor contributing to this is the traditional productive trade, economic, and energy cooperation between Moscow and Berlin, and the recent moves toward a deterioration of Germany-US relations, a trend which is set to intensify as the November presidential elections in the U.S. draw near. Well, the article continued, in the near future, the EU can be expected to recreate the French-German alliance, which acquires ever more importance in wake of financial and economic crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic and the global upheavals on world markets. End quote. Well, the world sees a dissolution of NATO, the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Germany, the need for a European army, France and Germany becoming stronger together. These are just some of the threads that have woven through the world news in the past few weeks. What interests us most as Bible students is not what the politicians and the media say, but rather what the Bible has to say. Now, the picture is clearly laid out in Ezekiel 38 of a division between the Western nations who make up Sheba, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, Ezekiel 38 verse 13, and the block of nations who come against it, led by Russia. The post-World War II alliances have to be broken up and redistributed to fit this picture. The collapse of the Soviet Union led to the reunification of Germany and the establishment of the European Union. Brexit has seen Britain leave Europe after wandering for 40 years in the Catholic wilderness. Now the collapse of NATO and the withdrawal of US forces from Europe will see the reshaping of the geopolitical landscape to further align with that described in the Bible. There has to be a coming together of Russia and Europe to see Ezekiel 38, Joel, Zechariah, Daniel 11 come to pass. Ezekiel mentions Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, etc. The land of Magog covers the area from the river Don to the river Danube, and contains what was formerly known as the Communist Bloc or the Warsaw Pact. Gomer and all his bands referred to the tribes who migrated to the area we know today as modern France/Germany. Germany and France are both included in this picture of Ezekiel 38. Well, the withdrawal of American troops from Europe will have the effect of France and Germany banding closer together in an alliance that will include their militaries. While politicians try to work out how they will pull this off, the Bible gives clear insight to the fact that somehow they will. The preparations for war we read of in Ezekiel 38 verse 7 require the associated nations to form military alliances with each other and eventually with Russia itself. The geopolitical shift in Europe is playing into Russia's hands and forcing Germany and France to band together. Bible students have watched expectantly for this alliance to form for years. It is currently taking place before our eyes. America is pulling out, Europe is pulling together, Russia is waiting in the sidelines to make its grand move. These confirm the validity of the Bible and our trust that the Most High does in fact rule in the kingdom of men, and that the stealthy advent of the Lord will occur at any moment. For the Bible in the News, this has been Jonathan Bowen joining you.